revolvers legal in New York State? How viable are they? We're gonna take a look at the beautiful Smith & Wesson 586. And we're gonna talk about a new Speedloader that we went over in another video during the winter time. The Rev Industry 18-round Speedloader, and how this is legal in New York State. And does this change the game a little bit? For revolvers, especially in states that are limited to only 10 rounds. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's your host, Nicholas Renner here, coming to you with another video in the warm greatness of the weather that God has bestowed upon us today. First, we're gonna go over if revolvers are legal in New York State, and I would sure damn hope so if I'm posting this. We're gonna go over the Speedloaders that I'm using, then here, old school duty rig coupled with some maybe new school items, the practicality of revolvers in New York State and communist states limited to 10 rounds, and the special Speedloader that I just talked about, and how is this legal, verified by the state police. So revolvers are legal in New York State, granted that you get your concealed carry weapons permit that we go over in our is concealed carry legal in New York State. We go over what you need to get that. So revolvers are legal. But the age-old question between semi-automatics and autoloaders has been going on since they've been around. We're not gonna debate which is better. We're gonna go over the advantages of a revolver, but especially in a state like New York, it changes things up a little bit because obviously in other states where you can have 15 rounds, 30 rounds, 100 rounds, whatever, it might be an easier option to pick a autoloader over a revolver. But in a state like New York where you can have revolvers that go from 6 rounds to 8 rounds, you're not that far off from the 10 round limited capacity that the state law mandates you cannot go over, or else you get a felony charge. You're gonna wanna stick around for this product that I showed you because this quite literally could make revolvers a more viable option, but it also could really just be a gimmick. I'm carrying an old Sam Brown duty rig. We are using the Safariland Speedloaders. I like these Speedloaders because of how quick they are to load versus the other traditional Speedloaders. Because as you can see, normally the Speedloaders, you gotta fumble around with a turn knob. With these, all it is find the hole, that's what she said. Push down, the ammunition is in the revolver. And to load these, they just go in like so. You push up, twist, and they're fully loaded in. With the capacity of 6, Safariland comes out with a lot of different models for a lot of different handguns. The disadvantage of this is that they're plastic, so they could break on you, but they've been using these for a long time. You check out the Indiana State Police revolver training video. They were using this for years and years ago.
Now push the knob straight up as far as it will go, then turn it clockwise until it clicks into place. The loader rests in the pouch like this. Either hand can be used to draw the Speedloader from its pouch. Loading the revolver quickly and smoothly requires some practice. Here are the different steps broken down.
Obviously, the disadvantages of a revolver is slower reload speeds, less capacity, possibly heavier in certain circumstances, longer trigger pulls. Some of the advantages of the revolver are if you're using crappy ammo, just like a manually operated, like a pump action versus a semi-auto, if you have a bad round, all you gotta do is pull the trigger again. You don't have to worry about that in a stressful situation. All you gotta do is pull the trigger again and the cylinder will actuate again. One of the other advantages is if you have a hammerless model, unlike this, if you have to shoot through clothing, shoot in confined situations where something might be touching your slide of your semi-auto, all you gotta do is keep pulling the trigger and it's gonna keep going. So if you have a hammerless model, you can pull that out of your pocket, or if you have a hoodie on, you can shoot right through your hoodie, have your hands in your pockets. Someone's not gonna know what you're doing and you can keep shooting and it's not gonna jam up on you. If you get into a hairy situation, somebody's got their hands all over your gun, you shoot one time, that might go out of battery with a semi-auto. With a revolver, you gotta just keep pulling the trigger and you're gonna blow them away. The same thing where you see in the movies, the guy always sticks the gun up to someone's head. If you do that hard enough with a semi-auto, that's going to put it out of battery. Obviously, that's not a good idea to do. Getting that close to a bad guy, or, you know, that's obviously not gonna be something you're gonna be able to justify self-defense wise. But say you're in a hairy situation, you've got your gun pushed up to somebody, they're wrestling with you. You might only be able to get one round off before your gun jams. Maybe that's all you need, but with a revolver, it's gonna keep going. And in this video, I'm not gonna say a revolver is better, but I'm just going over some of the advantages. And if you get pretty good with the reloads, I can show you from a draw and reload perspective. Obviously slower than a semi-auto, but if you get good, you can get quick. I'm nowhere near Jerry Miculek levels with it. And it's more moving things you have to do, lining it up. When you get really good with a semi-auto reload, you might not even have to look at your magazine. You're really looking down range. With this, you have to line up those rounds with the cylinder to make sure they go in. You gotta line it up. This is a Christian server here, ladies and gentlemen. And one of the last things is the cool factor. If you grew up anything like me, I grew up watching Bonanza, The Rifleman, The Andy Griffith Show, Gunsmoke. Gunsmoke, Bat Masterson. We watch movies like The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, Dirty Harry, Magnum PI, where they'd all use weapons when our country was a more civilized place, where they handled criminals accordingly, where men carried a 6-gun on their side and handled business the way our forefathers did. This is more of a duty rig, something you might not be carrying, but there's plenty of revolvers that can suit concealed carry needs, hammerless, etc. And inside the waistband, speed loaders, which might be a little bit tricky because of how they are shaped, but I've seen people get it done. And obviously, if you've seen most self-defense statistics, in reality, you may not even have to reload your handgun. Obviously, you want to be ready for that. But studies showing even just the presence of a gun with a revolver, it's no question if it's loaded or not. And you can see this isn't. So if you ever have to do that, make sure your gun's loaded. You can see those rounds facing right at you. Smith & Wesson came out with the Model 586 after coming out with the Model 19, finding that Model 19 K-frame, which was smaller than this, that was 38 Special and 357 Magnum. The problem was how they made them back then. People that were shooting, especially back then, they were shooting reloads, heavy-duty reloads. One of my coworkers that worked back in those older days, they would freaking load these things up. They were allowed to make their own ammo as long as it met the specifications of the departments. They didn't give a damn what you did back then. So some people were shooting spicy ass loads and they were shooting thousands of rounds. And the forcing cones, they would start to split. They would crack. So these Model 19 K-frames couldn't handle the loads of the 357 and they wanted more power than your 38 Special could dish out. So they came up with the Smith & Wesson 586, which beefed up all of those different areas of the firearm. And this is not a newer model. This is actually an older model that was nickel plated with the no lock. Because after Clinton's, I believe, they tried to come up with these locks on the guns that everybody hated. Finally, they got rid of them. And the newer 19s, they actually fixed that forcing cone problem. So if you want to buy a brand new Model 19, they actually have a sleeved barrel so you can shoot all the 357 you want. Back in those days, they came up with this, and this became popular all around the country. So this weapon's been tried and true. It's a little bit heavy, but another thing is, I don't think you want to get whacked in the head with one of this. Also, if you ever had to do it, it's definitely going to break somebody's jaw. It's probably put down many of an assailant, and it's a fun firearm to shoot. And again, it's got character. It's a beautiful gun. This is something that a lot of us grew up watching people use, either the old school single actions of the Western days, or I think Dirty Harry was carrying a Model 29 and 44 Magnum. This being a 4-inch model, it came in 6-inch, etc. 6-inch being a little bit longer, a little bit heavier, but giving you a little bit better sight radius. And one of the things you've been waiting for that we're going to finally go over here is the Rev Industries 18-round Speedloader. So before I actually got a revolver and wanted to actually carry one, I called the Safe Act hotline, the troopers over in Albany, to find out if this was legal or if this was considered a high-capacity magazine. Technically, since it is what the gentleman, one of the sergeants over there explained to me, is this would fall under the category of not a high-capacity speed loader or high-capacity magazine loading device, or more like a speed loader. How you have a speed loader on a table, you might be able to throw more than 10 rounds into the thing, and you crank it and you crank it, and you can load up multiple magazines. It's not like a high-capacity magazine loading device for a semi-auto. Since this is for a revolver, and revolvers don't have a magazine, he said that wouldn't fall, that would be completely legal for me to have and own, and they actually shipped it right to my house from Amazon, which you can buy these for like $20 or $30. So this is pretty much like 3 speed loaders stacked up on top of each other, so you can't load more than 6 at a time. Obviously, you can't carry a revolver that carries more than 10 rounds. One of these devices would be legal, and he actually had to research and do some digging and make sure for me. Why could this make something a little bit more viable in New York State? Well, in my last video, we go over how your Safariland speed loaders will be your quick throwaway. Whenever I learned about this, I wanted to treat this like your tactical reload. How this works is there's a little button right in here, so once you stick that into the cylinder, that button presses into that star extractor, the ammo then falls out. So what do I mean by combat or tactical reload? Well, this is going to be your quick throwaway, your Safariland reloaders, because you're going to load, you're going to throw it away. That's something where you're in the heat of combat. Well, say if you're behind cover, you have time, you can then use your 18-round Speedloader, because you're not going to want to throw this away after a single reload. So let's demonstrate how this works. Say you're behind cover, you got time to reload. You're going to go for your Rev Arms Speedloader. You're going to find the holes, you're going to press down, you're going to let out. You're gonna stow this back away into your pouch. You're gonna be good, and you can go to work. It's the same way it unloads. You stick your rounds into here, and you press the button, and you're set in stone. So you're behind cover. You have more time than usual. You're gonna have 18 rounds. You're gonna load up, stow this back away, and then go to work. One of the things you gotta worry about before you do buy one of these, check your local laws. But the thing that I ran into that's a little bit of a problem and why I gotta be a little bit more careful when I do this, because this is gravity fed, so you gotta really make sure you pull away slowly, you let them get in there. That's what she said. Lord have mercy. If you look right here, these combat grips, it makes it so I have to go at an angle. I gotta face this down. These combat grips actually get in the way of it being a straight shot. So I can still do it, but make sure the model that you have on their website, they tell you what models this is compatible for, and also make sure the grips that you have will not interfere with this, because you need to be able to get in a straight shot. I can do it at an angle, and once the ammo starts dropping out, it'll fall right in for me, but it makes it a little bit more of a pain in the ass. But at least I can carry an extra 18 rounds of ammunition all in one tube. Have 12 rounds here, so I'm carrying 36 rounds. And a lot of people nowadays, they might be carrying 3 mags, a normal double mag Speedloader and a mag in the gun. So they're carrying 30 rounds in their semi-automatic, an extra 6 rounds, 12 and 18, that's 36. So I'm actually carrying 6 extra rounds. Obviously, I gotta make 3 reloads with this, 2 reloads with this. So that's 5 reloads versus 3 you make with a semi-automatic, but you get the extra 6 rounds. If you have a triple Speedloader, then you get an extra 6. So let's demonstrate the different types of reloads and actually get to shooting, ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna start out with the Safariland. We're gonna do the quick combat reload, and then we'll show you the tactical reload. All right, so now we're gonna do the
2 hours later.
stow that away. Okay, let's try it again from this angle. Behind cover. Obviously with a revolver, you have longer trigger pulls. You can't use there's no reset like it is on a semi-automatic where you can get that lighter trigger pull when you stay on it. You need to go off every time, but you can feel a creep when it's about to go. The key is not jerking the firearm. The key is just keeping it on target while pulling the trigger each time. And if you use single action, it's a little bit slower, but you can get accurate. It's more and more like the reset where you'll get that lighter trigger pull. Something that I found that's interesting, you can carry more rounds for your revolver. Instead of just carrying 12 and 6 in the gun, 18, carry an extra 18. And if you had a triple magazine Speedloader pouch, you could have 18, 6, 12, 18 right there, 6 in the gun, and then 18 right here. So you get 18, 18 plus 6. So you'd have 42 rounds. I say that's not too shabby. Obviously, you got to reload a lot. But ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed, hit the like, hit the subscribe, support a fellow New Yorker behind enemy lines, fighting the good fight over here, trying to educate people on the rights that they have to get the most out of your rights in New York State. Go check out some of my other videos. Check out the last videos on the Colt SP1. If you live in New York, share it with your buddies. Show them the channel. Leave a comment what you think. If you got a revolver, what kind of revolver you got if you're into revolvers. If you think they're antiquated, even in New York State, if it's not even worth carrying one. Or if you think they have a place and they haven't been relegated to the annals of history. Ladies and gentlemen, I love you all. And I will see you on the next one.